Serious question. Do you trust your government? I understand the title of this video is a tad shocking. Nevertheless, things are getting serious, and I'm going to ask that question with 100% sincerity. Do you trust your government? Now, to my beloved MAGA viewers, I understand that you may see the government and President Trump as separate entities, but make no mistake about it, when we ask the question, do you trust your government? The question should be viewed the same as if Obama, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, or any of them were at the helm as well. Because fact is, President Trump is indeed just what the title states. He is the president. He is the government. So when I ask the question, do you trust your government? If you have a separate section for President Trump, then so be it. But do you trust your government? Because we're going to talk about the potential, as the video states, for the American Gestapo. Now, folks have been claiming that Trump is like Hitler and all of this other shit since Trump came on the scene. They said the same damn thing about Obama, Hillary Clinton, and a hell of a lot of other presidents. But is it just rhetoric? I want to give you a few different positions, or better yet, titles, and I'm going to show you how they could be linked together to make the title of this video a lot more clear. We're going to start out right off the bat with Trump using the Alien Enemies Act from 1798. You're probably aware of that by now because it's all over the damn news, that allows you to essentially take into custody violent gang members such as MS-13, Tren de Aragua, or any of these other factions that they believe is dangerous to this country. And you can do so like you would in the middle of a war where due process and all this other shit is not necessarily necessary. You can kind of just do it because you're trying to get out enemy combatants or combat folks. They're treating Tren de Aragua and MS-13 kind of like we would treat ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Trump has designated them as a terrorist group. And a lot of Americans are okay with that. MS-13 has done some vile shit on both sides of the border. So you should kind of understand that. But when you talk about the notion of, well, as Trump said, we can't have a trial for everybody, then keep in mind, if they say you're a member of MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, or say your ass is a terrorist, damn it, that's what you are. You don't get to protest it in court. Remember, illegal immigrants don't deserve due process. So if they say you are an illegal immigrant, you don't get due process. If they say you are a member of MS-13, you don't get due process. Do you trust that your government will not possibly grab American citizens that don't have a damn thing to do with a gang and wrap them up in this shit? That's why we ask the question, do you trust your government? So why is the phrase American Gestapo coming up in this? Well, in addition to the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 and the notion that illegal immigrants do not deserve due process, the Trump administration is now floating the notion of designating these gangs, the MS-13 members and the Tren de Aragua, as enemy combatants. You may be familiar with this from the Bush administration during the Iraq War, that whereas if you are an enemy to the United States, you can be deemed as an enemy combatant. You know pretty much an enemy combatant. You can kind of do any damn thing you want to them, up to and including waterboarding and all of this. Well, if Trump gets to designate Tren de Aragua and MS-13 as enemy combatants, and I don't see how any American that is against violent gangs would vote against it, then it kind of opens up the door to the title of this video. Here's the issue. I don't think there's any damn thing wrong with getting rid of violent gang members. The problem is when you remove due process, you now have the ability, and I'm going to put in parentheses, the ability, or in quotes, the ability to deem anyone as a member of one of these gangs. Because if they don't get due process, that means they don't get a day in court to prove otherwise. That's where the phrase of this video, American Gestapo, comes into clarity. Now, remember during the whole Third Reich and all this other bullshit, they were removing Jewish people from society by making up a bunch of shit against them. And that gave the German people a reason to accept what was happening as legitimate. They're harmful to the nation. Well, if you're brown, if you're Hispanic, and they suggest that you're a member of Tren de Agua or you are a MS-13 gang member and you don't get due process, and Americans believe that anybody that's in MS-13 or Tren de Agua don't deserve due process, then it opens up the door, just like during the Third Reich, to essentially remove anybody that's brown with impunity, leading to the original question: do you trust your government not to overstep this shit and start rounding up innocent people just to get rid of them? Listen, we can talk about whether the Trump administration will do this or not, but I'm stating they now are approaching the ability to do so with impunity. It's up to you whether you believe they'll do it or not. But essentially, the American public has given them the ability to round up people and deport them or make them disappear, whatever the case may be. And fact is, Bukele down in El Salvador that's being paid $20,000 by Americans per inmate we send down there, he'll take any damn body. He'll take my black ass without any problem at all. I'm certain of it, damn it. So he's getting paid $20,000 per inmate to house us, or them, or you, or who the fuck ever. So understand that with all of these in play, Aliens in the Me Act of 1798, no due process, and now they're flirting around the Enemy Combatants Act that they used during the Iraq War, they can essentially remove anyone from society that they want. Anybody that they deem may be an enemy of the administration. Maybe you're an enemy of Israel. Maybe you're an enemy of Trump. Listen, it could go anywhere they want, because at the end of the day, if they grab you and they say you are a member of MS-13 or Tren de Agua, we're taking them at their word that what they're saying is true, so much so that we don't require they actually give the person they grab due process. So the person they grab may be kicking and screaming, I have nothing to do with MS-13. I'm not from Mexico. I'm here legally. I'm a citizen. I was born. You don't hear from them. You don't get to hear from them when they don't have due process. They throw them in the back of the van and they tell you that person was an illegal immigrant and he was part of a gang. You've given them the power that when they use those words, he's an illegal immigrant or she is an illegal immigrant, and they're part of one of these gangs, your belief is that person does not deserve due process. Do you trust your government? Damn it, that's what we're asking. Do you trust your government not to use that power unless absolute in the right? Lots of American citizens have already been caught up in this. They had a guy on television a few weeks ago claiming he was a leader of the MS-13 gang faction on the entire East Coast. Charges against him have been dropped. Only reason that happened, he got due process. Otherwise, he literally disappears somewhere. And remember, folks, when they grab you, you have no control over where they're going to send you. You don't get any phone calls or any damn thing. Even when you arrive at their destination of choice, you're not guaranteed to get phone calls from there either. What is the guy's name? Kilmar Abrego Garcia that everybody's fighting over. He hasn't received any phone calls. His wife has not heard from him at all. When they deported him to the prison down in El Salvador, he essentially disappeared until a few liberals went down there and met with him. But otherwise, he has essentially been killed off according to his family members. It's essentially as if they killed him. He has no contact with his family at all. So he just basically disappeared in their eyes. So think about that if we're going too far, or whether or not you trust your government. Do you believe this is going too far to suggest that Trump, the administration, now have the keys in place to essentially be the American Gestapo? Or as I continue to ask, do you trust your government? Let your boy know in the comments. Frightening times, frightening times. Let me know in the comments. As always, feel free to smash that like button or dislike. This is pretty fucking bad. Subscribe to the damn channel. See you in the next video.